Andrew Robertson has described the game tomorrow as a free hit for your side. Is that how you see it, and will the players have to raise their performances again to beat Manchester United?
Yeah, certainly they will. Yeah, it's a very important game. You know, it's another one in the calendar in the Premier League. It's against one of the big guns in the Premier League, and probably one of the minnows. So we are prepared for a hectic afternoon. We know exactly what Manchester United are about and what they've brought to the Premier League this year. So it will be difficult, but I'm sure they're excited about the prospect.
But 3 wins from 3, you're making this management game look very easy. But what's the latest on your future? My future is exactly the same. Nothing seems to change from day to day other than that I'm still here, I'm still doing the training, preparing the team, and looking forward to this game on Saturday, and then a little break after it, maybe get a little bit of sleep. We know the takeover is close. Have you spoken to the prospective new owners about your future?
I've spoken to what could be potentially the new owners, yes. Not about my future, just about where they are at the moment. Everything I believe is with the Premier League at the moment. I think they are going through all their paperwork, and we'll see where that takes us in the next coming week, 2 weeks.
But is the takeover key to your future and to transfers?
I don't really know. At the moment, we have to just get on with the football, and that is what I've intended to do all along. Obviously now, after the game on Saturday, there is a window of 10 days and what have you to sit down and see what lies ahead. So I will take that opportunity then to do that.
The last 2 weeks you've told us about the need to get new signings in. So have you made any progress over the last week?
Well, it's the same old, same old. Nobody yet has come in the building. We haven't signed any new players. We are in talks with 2 or 3 new players. We have set our stall out. We are pursuing those interests, but at the moment nothing has been delivered.
Has a fee been agreed with Tottenham for Ryan Mason? Can you confirm that?
We've agreed a few fees, but we haven't got into discussions yet down the line as to what else it's going to cost us on top of that.
Is Ryan Mason one that you would like to bring in?
We have discussed players without going too far, because they are still at their football clubs. So we have agreed fees with football players and their clubs, and with agents. So we just have to pursue those and see between now and next, Wednesday evening, whether we can get those done.
How many do you anticipate coming in before the deadline?
Well, we need as many as we possibly can get. We talked a few weeks ago about maybe 6. Now that may be more, it may be less. We just have to try and pursue what we're interested in and see whether we can do those deals.
There's been speculation this week over the future of Abel Hernandez. He's been linked with Villa, and Harry Maguire to Middlesbrough. Have there been bids for those players, and could you afford to lose them?
We talk about 1 minute bringing players in, and now we're talking about letting players go out. As it stands at the moment, nothing has happened in those areas, and I expect nothing to happen in those areas. We've got quality football players that we need to keep at this football club, and in my opinion, that I hope will be here after Wednesday, that those players will still be here after Wednesday.
You know some of the quality football players that are at Manchester United.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney, one of them. How important is he for United, and do you think he'll be given the England captaincy next week long term? Would you like to see him as captain?
Well, I think everything's brand new now for England in that respect. New manager, probably a new direction that Sam wants to take England in, and I'm sure he's got his own issues to deal with as far as what his selection's going to be going forward. As far as Manchester United go, you only have to look at the quality and the depth that they've got, and when you think they've added to that depth, I think they spent probably 150 plus million on 3 players and managed to get a free transfer in that we can't do at the moment, albeit it's Zlatan, but that's where they're at. They have got quality in abundance, and they are aiming to win everything this year. So we stand in their way on Saturday. But yeah, Manchester United is a fantastic group of players, fantastic football club.
Can I ask you about one of the talking points from last weekend, grappling, and the penalties that were awarded at Stoke? Is it something you've had to speak to the players about, and do you now change the way that you defend set plays?
No, we haven't spoken about it. It was made obvious to us by the referees when they had their meetings in the early part of pre-season. You know, it's been implemented now, so hopefully, I think it's like anybody else, and I think other managers spoke about it, the consistency now lies going forward. You know, are we going to see more of this, or was that just one weekend where the point was made? Yes, you know, some teams suffered from it, but it's in the rules now, so we have to be careful, but the players are aware of that.
Final one from me. Jurgen Klopp talked yesterday about footballers being flexible, being able to play in different positions. How important is that, do you think, in the modern day football, that ability to...
It's important here because we've got 13 of them, so we have to be pretty flexible, and we have been flexible. So, yeah, I think that's right. I mean, you're investing in a lot of money in football players now. Yes, you do get certain players that are unique to one position, but I think in general now, football players have to have an all-round ability because squads come into play, and they have to be prepared to play wherever a manager sees fit at the time, and you have to rotate if you can. But I think everybody's got to be flexible. Managers have to be flexible, coaches have to be flexible, players have to be flexible.
You mentioned there just changing positions. In terms of if you're bringing in players in the next, clearly you need to bring them in, but everyone here is such a tight-knit group. How easy or difficult would it be to bring in the right people so you don't kind of break up that great team spirit that you've got? Yeah,
well, that won't happen. We won't break up, you know, the ingredients that we've got here. I mean, that would be silly of me, and would be wrong of the football club to do that. You know, we have a special understanding. We are a club that has been promoted. We are a club that is looking to try and build and be better. So, you know, we have to be genuine in our interests with certain players, you know, and they have to understand as well why they come to this part of the world, why they come to this football club, and what it means to the people supporting this football club. So we have to do all our hard work in persuasion, not just on the money side of it, but we have to be real, and we have to be real in what our demands will be. And but we have to get football players in. At the moment, football players cost a lot of money.
And those bids are in, and you've agreed some fees. But is anything likely to happen before tomorrow?
Before tomorrow? No, I would think not. You know, I think we're at the stage now where we're settled in our preparation for tomorrow. Discussions seem to take longer and longer these days, but we are ready, if we can press the right buttons, to start doing some deals. Whether that is possible, I would say no today, but certainly after tomorrow's game, which is a fantastic game for us tomorrow, then we need to do some hard work between now and Wednesday.
How much have United changed during those 3 years since you...
3 years, yeah. 30 years at times. I think they've changed a lot. I think they've regrouped. They've looked at certain things. They've tried to improve year on year, and I think possibly now they may have got the balance that they're looking for. Changed a few managers, but they've got one in which is second to none, you know, and he knows exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. So he's had a good start. He's invested in some extremely good players, but I think looking forward from his point of view, he wants to see consistency, and he wants to be challenging for everything that he possibly can do, which is expected of Manchester United.
Did you ever imagine that you would be facing Manchester United as a manager, and you would be sitting there with a 100% record at the start of the season as well?
Well, as a manager, I'm not a manager at the moment. It's always a great opportunity when you take on a role where you're in charge of a group of players, no matter who you're facing. It just so happens that my career has gone in a roundabout way where I've got this game on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm under no illusions as to what my players or these players are going to be playing against, and I don't think they are. But the challenge is great. You know, we've tried to do the right things. We're in a good position. We've worked really, really hard to play the likes of Manchester United, and I'm sure everybody will enjoy the occasion.
In a way, Mike, with the start that you've had, and you keep stressing stressing that you're not the manager, but do you hope something will resolve itself in this window we've got with this international break, as far as you're concerned?
Well, there are three things to solve at this football club, which are who's in charge of it, to take over, is it on or is it off, the manager situation, and what players are coming into the football club, if any. So we have to address those three situations soon enough. You know, it's what, 5 days to the deadline. There's one game to go before an international break, and we have to get something concrete. Looking forward to then a few days rest after Saturday's game, and then we can plan ahead for the forthcoming challenge that is going to be up to probably January.
And it also, by doing that, would give players something to look forward to as well, because they keep talking about how they want you to stay here and be part of it.
Yeah, well, that's that's very kind of them, you know, but that is my role. My role was to take charge of these players, and I think they've responded magnificently to that. You know, I can't praise them highly enough. You know, it's difficult to keep them fit, to keep them going, to keep them mentally ready for every game. And they're still smiling, you know, they've still got a great cheer in the dressing room, there's still a good atmosphere around the place. It's just a case now of we getting to that point where decisions have to be made, and every day seems to be getting nearer to that decision moment.
You referred to not having much sleep early. Will you sleep better once those decisions have been made?
I'm sleeping all right. I'm sleeping fine. It's just I'd like, you know, maybe a few days away where I can just breathe again for a little while without answering my phone.
Just going back to Manchester United, and obviously you've moved on since then. Was it pretty tough for you when you left in 2013?
Yeah, it was something that happened due to a retirement. Really, you know, not many people lose their jobs because a manager retires. In my situation, it was just a new manager came in and he didn't want me involved in that. So I know football well enough to accept it, move on. I took time out, which was refreshing after sort of 15, 16 years non-stop with Manchester United. So I took time out, which was enjoyable, and then you start to think about, well, you need to get back doing what you know. And that took a while, to be quite honest, to get back in. But when it did, it was refreshing, and I've managed to keep going since then. So I'm here, I'm at this situation, and I'm enjoying it.
Has Sir Alex been passing on any of his words of wisdom to you?
We still keep in touch. You know, it would be silly not to keep in touch, simply because we've lived with each other for God knows how many years now. So he's doing his thing, I'm doing mine, and we reflect quite a bit on the achievements we've had, and sometimes you can use that to your own benefit when you get the opportunity. So yeah, he's fine. He's in good form. He's doing a lot of work now. Work that he's probably enjoying because he's doing it for himself for a change. But he's a fine man, you know, and I can't speak highly enough of him.
And just a quick one, if I may, on Paul Pogba, obviously with him coming to Manchester United as well. You would have known him from his time there before. How has he progressed, developed and changed since those times?
Well, he's a lot bigger and he's a lot stronger now than he ever was. I think he's more mature. Probably by going abroad has given him that maturity. He's become more responsible now because, you know, he's been at a terrific football club, you know, and he's performed and he's become an international. So all these things have changed rapidly for him. He finds himself now back to where he started, and I'm sure he's looking forward to that challenge. He's young. He's still very, very young, and a lot seems to have happened to him in those early years. But everything now is down to him, you know, how he sees it, how he wants to perform. And he needs to carry Manchester United now to winning things, you know, along with the list of other players that I've got in front of me here that they've signed this summer.
You talk about players' versatility. One of those that you've had to make very versatile this season is Jake Livermore, now playing at the back. How important has he been to what you've achieved so far this season?
Well, he's been part of a system that we put together, which really became accommodation. You know, and he's took it on really, really well. And to be quite honest, I think he's surprised himself a little bit. But I can remember going back years that he did play in that position a few times, albeit at another club. But he's experienced, you know, he's had his own trials and tribulations throughout his career, but he's found a position which I think he's enjoying. And when you're enjoying playing football and you're out of position and your team's winning, then it does help, that's for sure.
Long term, Do you see him staying back there or moving further forward again?
Well, at this moment in time, that is where he's playing his best football. So unless we can change that with the addition of some football players, we have Harry Maguire now back fit, so that gives us another option. We can alter certain areas of the field now because of that versatility. But at the moment, he's enjoying playing when he's playing.
Does that give you your first selection headache of the season?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I haven't thought too much about it because we're winning and Harry's just played one 90 minutes. We'll make that decision later as to whether he comes straight back in or not. But if I have to do that, then I have to leave out one of the midfield players who's been playing really, really well. So at this moment in time, I don't really need to change too much.
On the subject of the trials and the tribulations of Jake, you'll be aware of the interview this weekend that's going out on Football Focus. When it all came out, Steve Bruce said that he didn't realise that he needed help or what help he needed. Things have now been put in place, and so what is there in place at the football club to help players?
Well, for one, the player's in a happier place, that's for sure. You know, the player has been sort of cocooned here a little bit because we've taken on board all those issues and he's accepted them and he's got on with it, and that's a credit to him. But what you do as a football club, I think it's important that you find out the issues, deal with them. You can't sweep them under the carpet, you have to deal with them. They are an asset to your football club, good football players. And I think then you have to manage that and manage the situation. You know, it doesn't just affect Jake, it affects everybody else. You know, people want to help, they want to understand what they're helping, and I think Jake, to his credit and to his family, they've managed to do that.
And do you think football clubs maybe saw it as a bit of an eye-opener, what had happened?
Well, we can't always live the lives for football players. You know, we employ them to be football players. They are human beings. They do have issues from time to time. But when you're sitting this side of the table, you're trying to manage the collective and the individual, and sometimes you forget that they are under scrutiny, they are under pressure at times, and we need to be there for them. You know, we want them to perform well, and how we get them to perform well, we need to make sure that they feel happy where they are and what they're doing.